Hello everybody and welcome to Environments for Animation. If you are watching this video, well, I'm not on site for the first week. I'm really very sorry for this inconvenience, but we've got an awesome semester lined up. This is one of the classes that I absolutely love teaching. And not to brag, but I feel like it's one of the best sort of courses that I've developed in my 10 plus years of teaching. It's a really exciting class, and we're going to take you through a lot of different types of background art and implementation in this course. So get ready to put in a lot of work. This is going to take out of time or out of class time for you guys to really be able to complete these assignments to the full potential. So please make sure that you've got your Wacom pen every day on Mondays and Wednesdays. I'm going to be at the school from like 12 o'clock or really 1 p.m. up until 3 when this class gets started. So feel free to come in early on those days. You know, it's a great working session. If you have any questions for me, if there's anything that you want me to check out or give you any kind of review, if you don't want me to review anything, just come in there and work on some stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. The way that this first class is going to work, this video, is I've got within the discussion board a bunch of videos that I've linked out that I'd like for you guys to look at. So along the way, after we get done talking about the syllabus and what the projects are going to be, we're going to be doing a little stop. I'll pause for like 5 seconds and you'll go watch one of these videos and then come back and then hit play here again, and then you'll be able to continue on, and we'll keep on kind of talking about these things. There'll be some discussion post prompts for you guys to respond to. And then for the second class, you'll see that there's a second discussion post for the second class, and that's going to have links to videos that's really going to walk you through the process of setting up these jungle scenes and what you need to get ready to do to be able to do the in-class speed assignments. So we'll get into that here in just a second. There's a lot of cool stuff to go over. First things that you need to know is, what are the learning outcomes for this course? So this is in the syllabus, and it says that the course is studio-based with multiple projects that will measure the student's capability to create believable environments for animation and for portfolio purposes. Topics to be discussed will be developing perspective skills, visual narrative, object layering, prepping illustrations for animation, creating complex backgrounds for animation, and creating animation for television. We'll talk about what other professionals are sort of bringing to this field and what some of the big trends are when it comes to background art. I'm going to go ahead and guess that a lot of you guys, when you're going through high school, probably focused on being able to draw characters really well. Human anatomy, being able to get hair down, clothing down. Maybe if you were drawing the anime type figures that's so popular, the anime faces, not really a whole lot of facial expressions there. The faces tend to be pretty blank when you're just sketching while you're in high school. And a lot of you guys might not, up until this point, have really sat down and focused on what environments are. But I think that environment art and background art is so incredibly cool and interesting, and all the little details that you can put in there to be able to add to the narrative and enhance what's going on with the character. And hopefully this class is going to get you guys thinking more cinematically about the way that you're creating these animations. A lot of times within the intro to animation courses, you're just going to have kind of a flat line within your screen, and then your character is going to perform some kind of action on that flat line. Well, the idea for this is that we're going to start looking at different vantage points, low level, high level shots, different types of framing that's really going to help your animations as you start to move towards your senior projects and your portfolio pieces start to feel like something straight out of a movie. I highly encourage you guys to, while we're going through this course, really think about, for each one of these background projects that we do, using these backgrounds within your animation courses to actually add character animation into it, so that when it lands on your demo reel, you've got beautiful background pieces with the character animation that you're showing off there, and it should look pretty outstanding. So a couple things, you are going to need to get yourself a Wacom pen. The school is no longer renting those out to you guys. You can't pick them up in the class, so make sure that you stop at the Altech or the bookstore or order it off of Amazon. The model is, it's listed in the syllabus, but it's KPT51E2. That's the one that you're going to need. One of the other things that I ask for you guys to do is please set up a digital cloud storage space such as Dropbox, Google Drive, something like that. Too many times I've seen the jump drives get left inside the computers. They don't transfer the files right. Things get left or lost. And I don't want to see that happen to you guys this semester. So it's the easiest way to be able to transfer your files when you come into class. Open up from the web browser, your digital cloud storage, grab those files, drop them onto the desktop. As soon as you're done working from the desktop, drag that back into your cloud storage, wait for it to upload, and really use those portable hard drives or external hard drives as a backup, an extra layer of protection once you've got your final projects done. So you might want to bring in some headphones as well. If from time to time we do play some really kind of soft melodic background music within the course. If you don't like my music, then you're welcome to listen to your own. Okay, so now we've got what the learning outcomes look like. You're going to need a Dropbox storage and a Wacom pen. The majority of the work that we're going to be doing within this course is going to be in Adobe Photoshop. I'm not going to be doing Krita or any, real Toon Boom backgrounds. Toon Boom is great for character animation and handling really large vector files, but Photoshop is still sort of the industry standard when it comes to doing a lot of this background art. I've gone ahead and posted 2 different brush packs within the course announcements on the D2L. I highly recommend that you guys download those brush packs and install them within your version of Photoshop, and then when you get to the school, install them again. They're going to be really helpful and are going to give us just a lot more options outside of the base brush pack to be able to work for these backgrounds, and this is pretty in line with professional production pipelines. If you don't know how to install the brush packs, well, there's a little YouTube video there as well to help you be able to upload those or get those brush packs installed. It's really short, it's like 3 minutes, and I'll walk you through it with no problem. So don't be scared of that. Alrighty. So the course objectives for this class are going to be getting a greater understanding of rendering in Adobe Photoshop. Man, there's so much that we're going to go over when it comes to lighting and shadow and different materials and atmospheric perspective and working with perspective in general and building really detailed environments in a fast way to where we're not bogging ourselves down. That's going to be one of the big things in this course that I hope that I can impart to you guys is how to be able to render something that looks and feels really complex, but you're doing it in a very smart manner that works within the parameters of what a studio environment actually feels like. So there's quite a few projects within this course, and every week that you're not turning in a project, we're going to have an in-class assignment that kind of builds on, it's meant to go within your portfolio. So you'll have, for example, like the medieval background stuff, an exterior and interior shot is the big project. But then for an in-class project, we're going to design 3 different items that would be sold or appear within your interior of your building. So that way you get to show off some individual items as well as these big background environments. And yeah, if you want to see what all these projects together look like within the announcements on the D2L, I've gone ahead and uploaded a PDF from my in-class examples from the previous semester of what all the projects kind of together look like. And I highly recommend that you go through and look at that, because at the end of the semester, I'm going to ask you guys to turn in a final PDF just like this of all your projects compiled together. And it's a great way to be able to very quickly upload these projects to ArtStation, to Behance, to be able to put it on your own website. And it gives you the chance to be able to talk about your process, the thought behind it, because having beautiful artwork there without any context applied to it can be a little bit confusing for someone just coming in and just looking at it and judging it at face value. If you can describe with a text box, a small one, to an audience who's seeing it for the first time, why you did what you did and how you solved for it, what it is that you were trying to do here, it really frames the artwork in a much more direct way and lets your own creative voice and your ability to be able to talk about your process come through, because they haven't met you yet. They're just looking at your website when you first send that off, and any chance that you get to be able to instill what a great thinker and creative problem solver you are to an art director or a hiring manager, that's really going to help to set you apart when it comes to the stacks of different portfolios that they're looking at for a limited number of positions. Okay, so you're going to build a portfolio of background and environments. You're going to gain the ability to render lighting, form, and various materials. You're going to work up to rendering in a professional manner at speed that's required in most production houses. Again, I keep on talking about rendering at speed. A lot of you guys, I hope that you find over the course of this semester that your time that you spend on these first projects compared to the time that you're spending at the end increases, that you become a faster, more confident painter with these works that we're going to be doing. The painting quality hopefully will get a lot better also along the way. So it's a pretty cool journey that you're all about to embark on. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and start talking about some of these about the projects that you're going to be doing, and then I'll also go through and tell you about what the in-class project is going to be for each one of these two. So this is the fun part for the course. So the way that this thing is set up is you are about to go on a journey through time. Yeah, and so we're going to start all the way back in the jungles, and you're going to be creating a jungle environment with some type of ruins. So an ancient civilization that's been lost. The vines are starting to overtake the either the tomb, the fortress, the whatever it happens to be within the space, and you're going to be using that ancient civilization's ruins to be able to tell a story of who these people were. And then we're also going to be working with the jungle environment to do, a very filled up environment very quickly, and hopefully be able to show you guys some techniques to be able to fill in these spaces with color, with lighting, with shading, that helps you get on board when it comes to rendering really quick. Okay, so the second project is the medieval environment. We're moving forward in time. So we've left the ancient forest. Now we are moving into medieval times. And so what this is going to be is two different shots. You're going to have an exterior shot where your character would be walking through this exterior environment, and then you're going to have the exterior of this building that the character, if you choose to animate on the inside of it, would walk into and enter this building. And then the next shot is going to be what it looks like when the character actually enters into the building after that. So we've got exterior lighting versus interior lighting, how to be able to make your line weight and your kind of shape language that you're using match both the interior and the exterior so that they feel like they come from the same world. And for project 3, we're going to move forward in time just a little bit more, and we're going to go into the Industrial Revolution. So you're going to create a city scene along with a vehicle from this era. So for each one of these projects, there's an assignment description in there on the D2L, and it's got previous examples in it. In some cases, examples that other students created also. And I really recommend, we'll look at it in class, but read through that if you're curious about a more in-depth view of what these projects are. They're pretty fun, and there's a lot of prompts within those assignment descriptions to help kind of get you guys thinking about how strange and wonderful and creative your ideas can be for these projects. The vehicle for the Industrial Revolution, think like steampunk, right? That's kind of the idea that we're going for here. Or you could, envision an alternative history in which, instead of running off of coal or steam, maybe these vehicles are being driven by, cheese. Who knows? You can really come up with whatever the heck it is that you want to, but we're going to be looking at references for every one of these projects in here. We'll get to that here, more on that in a little bit. But the next project, Project 5, is going to be, Project 4 is going to be skipping forward in time as well. So now we're going to be going to the 1940s and the 1950s. And this one is where we start to crank up the complexity of the project. You're going to be tasked with doing 6 different drawings around a suburban space. So think like Tom and Jerry, old Mickey Mouse cartoons, Bugs Bunny. If he wasn't in the forest, he's actually hanging out in a house. Sylvester and Tweety, Warner Brothers type stuff. Those types of backgrounds is what we're really going to be doing a focus on, with 6 different background environments or plates. And these shots should work in a sequence. So you can imagine your character moving from, say, the kitchen, close-up shot of them finishing baking a cake or something within the kitchen. Then all of a sudden they exit out into the living room. So now you've got 3 different shots. Then maybe you jump over to a 4th shot from the character's perspective of what it is that they're actually seeing. And then from there, you've got 2 more shots of them either looking back into the kitchen from an alternate vantage point because the cake that they just put in the oven is starting to catch on fire. Or, what is the final shot is them opening up the oven and then, seeing all the smoke start to billow out of there in the burnt cake. And that would be a really, easy, quick example of these 6-shot sequence. Previously, when I've run this course, this is where some really, really strong works have come out of. I can't wait to share with you guys what past students have done for this project. And there's been cool stuff that you can do for every single one of these projects, but this one in particular, I think people have knocked it out of the park. So after that, we're going to move on to Project 5. And Project 5 is the modern era. Again, we're moving through time, getting closer and closer. And what this is sort of like Pixar style background art. So think modern urban landscapes. I did San Francisco for my previous one. We're going to add a little bit more to this to where we actually import it into either After Effects or Toon Boom. And we're going to add a parallax effect to it so that the background and camera is actually moving through your shot and things are moving at different rates to create the sense of depth within your scene. Get some pretty cool results out of this one as well, but it really does require you to use a different sort of color palette than we've worked with or used up until this point in the class. So Project 6, your final project within here, is going all the way to the future. So it is a sci-fi space station or a docking port with a ship design that's going to be included in the final rendering. And you're going to be doing some orthographic drawings of the ship to really, again, pair out and build out this body of work on this focus that you're describing. And it should look pretty cool. I really like the example that I came up with for this last one. And I hope you guys seeing that in the process book that's posted in the announcement section on the front of the DTO for this course gets you guys excited for what it is that you can create. So when it comes to attendance, I just ask that you guys please try to arrive to class on time. This is going to be really important. If generally I'll start the class about 5 minutes after the actual class time, just in case anyone's running late, but there is so much good information and so many things that we're going to be covering every single class period that you guys need to take advantage of this time and in this course. This is one that you can really throw yourselves into, get super creative. Creativity, effort are always rewarded and championed in any one of the classes that I teach, and I really appreciate that. I am going to be critiquing you guys. You're going to be critiquing yourselves in this class. Please understand that the critiques are coming from me, meant to help you guys along. I understand that these, in a lot of ways, are completely new things that you've never really been asked to do or have never had an extended focus on. And so we're going to be learning this stuff fast, but that's one of the best parts of doing art in a college environment is you get to see everyone's iterations and solutions for these sandbox assignments. And some of them are going to work, some of them are going to have some problems, but we're going to talk about how you can fix those problems next time. And I'm never trying to be overly critical with you guys, but I do think that college used to mean the equivalent of 4 years within an industry. And this is the last stop before you actually enter out into the working world, where you start to sell this skill set that you're developing for money and start to develop other people's ideas. And so you need to be able to do that quick, you need to be able to concisely, and you need to be able to communicate your thoughts clearly. So yeah, don't just take the critiques with a grain of salt, and know that I am absolutely 100% here to be able to help you guys make the best works and outcomes that you can. Okay. Within the syllabus right now, it says that you're going to begin your weekly exercise. I'll get more into that within the second video and talk to you about what that actually looks like. So for class 2, we might push that back until Monday of the following week. Just want to go ahead and make you aware of that. Okay. So let's get in and start looking at some of these videos. I would recommend at this point that you guys take like a 5-minute break. If you listen to me for long enough, pause, go get a drink, walk around, and then if you would, please look back to the discussion post, and we're going to start going through each one of those videos and sort of looking at them and giving a quick discussion about what they, what's contained in there, what works, what doesn't work, and using that just as, different prompts. So take a couple minutes, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Okay, welcome back. So if you guys would, please go over and click on the first video here. It's from this guy named Ethan Becker, and he's got a really, really interesting approach for background art that I want you guys to look at, and we'll use this as sort of a launching pad to be able to talk about a couple more things. So I'm going to wait for 5 seconds, go watch the video, and then we'll get back to talking about what you just saw. And okay, welcome back. So this guy's got such a unique approach here, where he's actually going through and using Google Maps to be able to set up some of these backgrounds. Now, you got to be careful with the example that he's using here. It's a really cool scene, and it's really dynamic that he's chosen. But it works for the superhero genre, and the Google Maps are going to work really good for a lot of modern environments. Sure, you can look at Europe, but I think it's going to be a little bit trickier to be able to get on a street level view a really solid looking composition. So that brings up looking at references, which is something that this guy stresses an awful lot. I love how in this first video he goes through and mentions all these other artists that he really likes an awful lot. And that's something that I am so huge on when it comes to any type of new project or any type of new assignment that you're taking on, is reference. You guys have not done a lot of backgrounds or environment work before, so please do not think that you are going to be the best in the world when it comes to shadows and structures and line quality and shape language, which is something he talks about quite a bit in this video. And you need to be going on Behance, you need to be looking at artstation.com, you need to be collecting reference images and compiling those reference images together and taking different pieces of those reference images and working directly from them to be able to create your own unique solution. If you are not doing this and you are trying to pull this stuff completely out of your head, you're not going to get a good result. Your work's going to suffer, and you're not going to be able to get as good as you'd like to. This guy is also at a professional level, and he is still referencing from other artists constantly and building his pieces based on styles that he likes, color systems, shadow systems, gradients that are really inspiring to him. And I think that's so important. He does have a huge focus on the grid system, which sometimes it's useful. I think he goes a little bit overboard with it. In this sense, it's useful for him because he's doing a highly elevated city scene, But a lot of the stuff like the medieval scenes, the forest and whatnot, perspective's always going to be, it's always going to help your pieces. It's never really going to hurt it. But getting organic with your shapes and coming up with new forms is going to produce a better result than making these stiff little boxes that are just in a row and moving back from one another. That's just not interesting to be able to look at. The guy that he keeps on talking about within this video, I followed up and tried to watch some of the Ross Draws videos. I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen them before. I couldn't do it. I couldn't make it all the way through one. I think that he is communicating in a way that is not telling you everything that you need to hear. It's kind of like watching Bob Ross on PBS when he's doing like a landscape and he's like, oh, we're just gonna do a little happy tree. Here we go, pop, pop, pop. And it's the most like beautiful looking tree that you've ever seen with a palette brush, and he just lays it down in 5 seconds. And that intuitiveness that he has when he's putting together these gorgeous landscape scenes, this Ross guy kind of does the same thing where he's like, oh, we're just gonna come up with this, we're gonna do this thing. He's not really talking to you about the mechanics of how he's actually building out these shots. Whereas the video that I gave you guys, even though the guy's a very strong personality, he does a much better job of explaining what his process looks like and all the references that he's pulling into his pieces. Okay, so let's pause for another 5 seconds, and we're gonna go check out the next video on the list. Okay. So I wanted you guys to watch this next video, which is what goes into background art within anime, because man, you know, if you look at the Justice League or Justice Society of America, some of the DC animated universe stuff, they are still using the art style from Batman the Animated Series, but that art style was developed for like a noir style Batman environment, a very dark, gritty type of city. And then when you apply that sort of background style to these bright Justice League scenes or being out in outer space on their space station and stuff, it just doesn't really translate. So what I'm trying to say is that anime background art, and a lot of times it's pretty stinking superior to what's going on with a lot of the American action animation that's happening today. What I love about this video is the variety of styles that they're able to show off and the emphasis that they put in there about the emotional context that these environments can have, right? So with the way that you're drawing the lines to be able to lead the viewer's eyes towards the character, the different kind of lighting and mood setting that you're doing just really gives the backdrop for the play that's happening with the animated characters on the screen to inform the viewer about how they should feel. There's so many chances within these background pieces that you're going to create in here to be able to infuse narrative, to be able to infuse story, to be able to say that, okay, this isn't just a forest that we're going to be drawing, but rather this is a forest that a great battle took place on many eons ago, or this is a forest in which, you know, a juggernaut, a giant creature was fallen, and then civilization grew up out of the ruins of this creature, but then that civilization failed for some kind of reason, and then the forest is starting to take back over that space, right? That is much more interesting than just saying, okay, well, here's, you know, a random, you know, kind of temple or entrance, and not thinking about the historical narrative of the place that you're describing. Same thing goes for the medieval space, right? You can think about how warlike is this medieval village that you're deciding to describe. Are they just peaceful like little hobbits? And how would that, you know, change and affect their architecture, or the different shops that you might create? What are they selling? What kind of unique foods are, you know, they trying to get, instead of just having your standard sort of armor or horseshoe shop, stuff like that? You can come up with really, really unique solutions that are unique and intrinsic and help your audience really sort of immerse themselves in the worlds that you're creating, right? Everyone loves world building, and this is your chance not to get too caught up in it where you never actually draw anything, and instead we're going to make some really, really cool pieces of background art. But the emotion in these pieces is always important. Look for chances throughout this semester to be able to infuse the emotion and the background narrative into every background that you create. It's only going to help you. So let's take another 5 seconds and we'll look at the next video. Alrighty, so the next video is really very short. It's only like 3 minutes long, but excuse me, it goes through and it shows you, it starts to talk about this really important concept, which is atmospheric perspective and shadow colors within your background environments. You've probably all seen some type of Japanese animation that takes place in a forest, and they are consistently using a dark blue or this really unique blue color for the shadows on the trees, and it works. It's not natural. When you look out into a forest, it's usually just a darker brown or a darker green, and that's called local color. We're going to be getting into illustrative color within this course, and I want to push you guys to really think from the references that you're using. Break those references down, look at how they're doing the shadows, and this idea of atmospheric perspective based on the time of the day is super useful. That little short 3-minute video, they're talking about something that we're going to come back to time and time again throughout this semester. And when you can add elements of this into your pieces, they're just going to look better. You're going to get that depth. It's not going to look as flat, and you can still have something that's completely line based, but if it's using these atmospheric perspective tricks, it's going to have more depth. It's going to have a greater sense of scale, and the quality of the work is going to improve overall. So watch out for those. Atmospheric perspective, awesome stuff. Another 5 seconds. Let's check out the next video. Okay, so these next two videos are kind of paired together, and each one of them, kind of all the videos that we've watched so far, you hear background artists talking about how they don't like other background artists, they like these background artists, they don't like the way that people are talking about it. There's a lot of different techniques, there's a lot of different schools of thought out there when it comes to background art, but within each one of those little videos, for something as simple as drawing a tree, each one of those artists is going about it in a uniquely different way and manner. In that first video, I really don't like the way that the guy goes through and like outlines the tree with just one long line, and it doesn't look good. And then all of a sudden, like, he starts painting on the interior of that blocked in color, and the tree comes to life. Then by like the very end of the video, you realize that, yeah, he knows his stuff when it comes to color usage and atmospheric perspective, and it turns out pretty cool looking. I like all the details that he puts into the bark. The second video, a very different approach. That girl is hilarious. I think she's been inside maybe a little bit too long, but so she goes through, and when she's talking about, when you see her in there, start to take the different elements of the tree and use the warp tool to be able to just sort of push them around. Really smart, quick way to be able to work and get some more unique and dynamic shapes out of something that you've already created. I like it. She also does a great job with rendering in her last render of the tree, just the snot out of the lighting. So it's got, just like you can see on the side of my face, I've got a little blue line going on over here. There it goes. And then I've got a yellow light going on the top of my head. Then I've got some green that's coming on this side of my face. So I've got a bunch of different colors that are working on me. It's not just one direct piece of shadow, bounce light, all that other stuff. And those are things that we're going to talk about. Rim lighting to help, help define the edges of objects and things like that. All of this is going to help to make your pieces even better. I wanted to show you guys, if that's not something you've ever really thought about, is how much you can really do with lighting within some of these backgrounds. And man, it's good stuff. I like it too, that it's something as basic as a tree, right? Everyone's been drawing trees, or at least lollipop trees or something, since you were probably a little kid. And to see those two different artists take it on in such dramatically different ways is really cool. And I hope that, if you're just clicking through those two videos, that's kind of what I did, that some of the unique tricks that they do, especially with like the overlay layers and the colored dodge layers, end up being pretty useful for you guys to put in your back pocket and something that you can use later on. Okay, so we've got one more video on here. Pause for another 5 seconds and go check that one out. Please watch this entire full video. This guy's process and his ability to be able to talk about his process, I think is one of the strongest and most clearly delivered videos that I can show you guys at the beginning of this course. And it's so neat watching the way that he kind of builds this scene. And it's a really, really smart way to work. Okay. Okay, so if you just watch that one, that composition that he creates in there is absolutely stunning. It's got a great sense of lighting, and it's thinking about how you're directing the viewer's eye to where you actually want them to look. And it's got just great lines throughout the entire composition for leading the viewer to that particular moment for what you want them to see. And yeah, pretty stunning, pretty talented concept artist there. So you guys, I hope you're not feeling overwhelmed. I hope you're feeling excited about what this course has to offer. And hopefully these videos that you've watched along with listening to me sort of go through my spiel here for the first class, and again, I'm sorry I can't be there, has been useful for you and start to load into your brain some of these big concepts that we're going to be looking at. So for the second class, there's another discussion post that's going to be in there. You're going to see a whole bunch of just screen captured tutorial videos from me while I'm working through and building out this first project, which is Welcome to the Jungle. And I'll try and cover within that the assignment sheet and sort of what are the key parts that you're supposed to be looking for within this. We'll go through the thumbnailing portion of it. We'll go through thinking about blocking in the different big shapes and the colors, but it should be pretty useful for you guys as a guide. And I hope that you'll reference back to this throughout the entire semester for what the process actually looks like to be able to go from, thumbnails, color blocking, selecting these regions, and then from there going in and adding in your darker shadows, then working your way into the highlights, and then doing a final polish pass at the end. So I'm excited that you guys are all here. This is going to be such a cool class for you guys. I am here to help you guys succeed 100%, and I cannot wait to see you at the start of week 2. All right, bye-bye.